Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's do some breathing before we go ahead and get started. It's Hanumai, Hanuaku. Hanumai, Hanuaku. Hanumai, Hanuaku. E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no eo. O nā mele. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai e. Ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no eo, o nā mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e. E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no eo, o nā mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e. So, aloha nui kako and mahalo nui to everyone for joining us today. Today is the third session in our ʻImi Keola Maua Mau series in honor of Recovery Month, which runs throughout September. My name is Lilinoe Kohikawa, and I'm a population health specialist with Papo'olalokahi, focusing on addictions, behavioral mental health, and social justice. And before we go ahead and get started today, we just have a few housekeeping notes. Today's session will be recorded, and we are live streaming to Facebook. Please note as well that we're using the Zoom webinar feature, so this does limit your ability to turn on your camera and unmute, but we can unmute you should the need arise. Please feel free to post any questions as they come up today throughout the session in the Q&A panel found at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we'll leave some time to answer questions and talk story toward the end of today's session. Please feel free as well to utilize the chat. We'll also be monitoring that throughout our time today. This training has been approved by the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Division for CSAC, CCS, CPS, CCJP, CSAPA, and Social Worker Continuing Education Credit Hours. Following the webinar, you'll be asked to complete an evaluation. If you could just take a moment to complete the evaluation, it helps us to improve and expand our programming opportunities. So for those that are also wishing to claim the continuing education credit, the evaluation also connects you to our attendance verification form. And upon completion of that form, you'll receive an email certifying your attendance and credit hours. And this will serve as your credit letter for licensure. The link will also be sent to you in a follow-up email via Zoom tomorrow. This series is co-sponsored by Papo'olalokahi and the Hawaii State Alcohol and Drug Abuse Division. Mahalo again for everyone for joining us on this journey. The overall goal of this series is really to improve our pilina, our connections all across Hawaii. It has been our hope through this education and outreach that we can embark on new ways to strengthen these pilina, creating ideally this ʻOhana, right, this net of connected services throughout Hawaii in service to our lahui. So mahalo nui for joining us as we revisit this rich lineage of kupuna wisdom in the field, as we set an intention and continue to learn skills for our work, as well as to uplift the work that's being done by organizations that are providing culturally grounded approaches in the field of addictions. It's my honor to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Lisa Ponichtera. I should have asked you how to pronounce your name.
You can just say Dr. P. They call me Dr. P.
Okay, mahalo, Dr. P. Okay, Lisa was born in California and moved to Hawaii with her family when she was 2 years old. She grew up in Molokai in the valley of Honouliwai. There is where she learned to appreciate all that is Hawaii, where she learned to respect the culture of her island home. She is the mother of 3, a grandmother, wife, daughter, and the clinical director of Maui Behavioral Health Resources. She received her bachelor's degree in speech pathology and audiology from the University of Hawaii, Manoa, and her master's degree in marriage and family therapy from Argosy University. She has a PhD in clinical psychology from Saybrook University and is a Hawaii State Certified Substance Abuse Counselor and licensed marriage and family therapist. She's an associate member of the American Society of Addiction Medicine and is the Maui Island representative for the Hawaii NADAC Association. Lisa has experience working with pregnant and parenting women, gender-specific substance treatment, trauma-informed care delivery, co-occurring disorders, cognitive behavioral therapy, humanistic therapy, strengths and evidence-based practices, and as well as motivational interviewing. She is a strong proponent of the use of indigenous practices alongside what the Western world has prescribed for healing remedies. She understands the need to bring back the spirit and soul of each woman, man, and child through relationship and meaningful connection in order to support lasting change. We also welcome today Donna Kupono. I should have asked you how to say your last name too. Lucero, is that correct? Lucero.
Lucero, yes.
Lucero, okay, mahalo. Born and raised and rooted on Maui, Kupono received her bachelor's degree in social sciences and a certification in addiction studies from the University of Hawaii at West Oahu. She continued her education at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where she received her master's degree in social work and was a haumana of the Hawaiian Learning Program for 2 years. Kupono is a Hawaii State Certified Substance Abuse Counselor and licensed clinical social worker. In her spare time, Kupono is the president of Ahahui Kupono Foundation, a nonprofit organization she helped to establish in 1999. Kupono began social services work in the late 80s. She has worked in the home health field, serving individuals who are considered homebound, along with their families. In 2000, she worked at Maui Kokua Services, also known as Mental Health Kokua, as a crisis shelter worker, senior residential assistant, where she monitored the 24-hour suicide hotline, also known as the access line, and gained knowledge and skills in working with adults with severe mental illness. In 2007, she transitioned to working with adults with substance use disorders as an in-custody treatment counselor while employed with Mental Health Kokua. In 2009, Kupono moved to Malama Family Recovery Center, continuing her work with women, children, and families in preventing gender-specific and co-occurring disorder treatment, trauma-informed strategies, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, addiction and recovery education, and family strengthening concepts using strengths-based approaches and culturally responsive practices. In serving the women and families, Kupono has discovered the value of culture in answering the questions, who am I? What is my purpose in this life? Finding her self-identity as a Native Hawaiian wahine has helped her to answer these questions, and today, Kupono interweaves cultural traditions and practices with Western evidence-based substance use interventions as a holistic method to help others find their self-identity and purpose. Melina, mai to you both, and I'll go ahead and turn things over to you.
Well, Kupono, would you like me to start us off? All right. Well, thank you very much, Lilinoy and Papa Ololokahi, for having us, ADAD as well. Feeling very honored to be a part of these presentations and to share all that we have learned over the years on how to engage the families that we work with using cultural practices. So I think Lilinoy explained pretty much who I am. Behind me is the Valley of Honolulu, where I grew up, and I really do find my sense of place there. Being the director of Malama Family Recovery Center for so many years, we were blessed with a grant from SAMHSA, and we were able to put together this video that shows really the essence of Malama and what we do. And so I'd like to play that for you now. So can I share? Am I okay? Okay, let's see.
I remember the first time I used, it was kind of like, I felt relief. I felt like it took me away from everything.
I believe I was 12 or 13 years old. I took my first hit of ice, and that was it.
There's just such a huge stigma against people who are using substances, alcohol, methamphetamine, opiates, whatever it is. You know, why can't you stop?
I think there was a lot of trauma, and I think there was a lot of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse that went on that I blocked out. So I think it just numbed all of that and made me forget.
The women that are the chronic relapsers, or the ones that we see over and over again, are the ones that were so traumatized and so hurt.
My mom left. I got pregnant. My boyfriend at the time became my guardian.
It's so important to remember is that it's a chronic relapsing brain disease, and this is the definition of addiction.
My journey with the women was all about self-identity and finding self, because in addiction, they lose themselves.
At what age does that little girl who was hurt, it just really hurt, become someone in that we say, okay, now it's time to punish you because, and we haven't even been able to help her with the hurt or the pain.
I thought to myself, my kid's mother is a meth addict, and it just, for some reason, something came over me of how my daughters must feel to have a mom that was a meth addict.
I must have been almost 4 months pregnant, and I got an abortion. That broke me.
The metaphor of the lo'i is like our physical body. If you don't learn to take care of it, it will die. I could use the lo'i and the malama aina-based therapy to get us back to our roots, get us back to our self-identity, to actually find out who we are.
The women that have lost their children to child welfare services, that oftentimes is a moment of truth. That's a very traumatic moment.
Sometimes I think being honest is like one of the hardest things to do, you know, because you're scared of the reaction. You're fearful of people getting mad at you or not accepting.
I don't take no for an answer, and I know there's got to be a way to help people. And I know that we're not getting to everything just yet. And so I'm going to push and push and push until we can add what we need to help everyone. We provide a safe, nurturing place for the women, and we do things to help them look at that part of themselves and to heal that part. Because if you can't heal that part, that broken little girl, you're not gonna want to stop using because the pain is too great.
A lot of times I start my classes with, I'm not gonna tell you anything you don't know, but I'm gonna stir up what you already have.
At Malama, we do very individualized treatment plans, and look at each woman and each part of her life and provide her with support so that she can gently go back into the community.
Our Hawaiianness really comes with our intense connection with Keakua and the land and other people. And so it's an intense mindfulness, awareness of moment by moment awareness of sense of place, sense of people, and sense of purpose.
Maui, though, has a very strong sense of community. The way that we were able to form a bond with Pastor Greg, Child and Family Services, the judiciary. We'll get calls now from the hospital, from the Child Welfare Services workers, and they'll say, do you have a bed? And if we have a bed, we'll let the baby come home with the mother to Malama. Therapy is huge. We have neurofeedback. That's a new thing that we're doing. We're looking at neuronutrition. And we have our Baby Safe program, which is a program that goes out into the community to help find pregnant women or women with young children and help gently bring them in because they're scared. We're really trying to break outside the box because we want to look at the whole person, the whole woman, and help her.
I felt like my whole life I've been trying to control stuff in my life and what the turnout was going to be like. And I just, something washed over me, and I surrendered everything.
If you're going to stay at Malama, you're going to heal.
You know, we usually say if you're saving your aloha for something, who are you saving it for? Just give your best now and it'll be replenished. O makalapu au luma ihe o kaleo ahama kaeha.
All right, so I think I'm back now. Am I back, everybody? All right, so thank you so much for letting me share that with you. Malama is one of 2 residential facilities that are in the state of Hawaii. The other is on Oahu, and that would be Women's Way, that allow mothers and children to be in the facility while they're in substance use treatment together. And so our whole thing is to eliminate barriers and to create the safest space. Oh goodness, I have stuff going on my computer.
So this is the way it starts. Everybody's kind of sleepy at first, but when the sun comes up,
I apologize here.
We're going to divide it.
Okay. So Kupono, now I'm going to turn it over to you, unless anybody has any real quick questions they want to ask. Otherwise, I'll let Kupono go because she is our new cultural liaison across Maui Behavioral Health Resources. I am frozen again, but I hope that you guys can hear me. So Kupono, take it away.
Aloha kako, mahalo to Illinois, Papa Ololokahi, and ADAD, and all of you for sharing this space with us. I've been working in the human services field for the past 20 years, and my journey has taught me how important culture is in finding out who I am as a Native Hawaiian wahine and to figure out what my purpose is. My hope is that our presentation will be helpful to you and those you serve. We are familiar with that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, we need all of us in our community to strengthen our families. Can we go, how do I go to the slide, Lily?
It should be up now.
Oh, okay.
Can you all see the slides?
Yes.
Oi, hold on, I'm having a little problem because I have my script on the other side. So I need to kind of exit this full screen. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Okay, so in strengthening our families, we went from cultural competence to cultural responsiveness. These clinical skills is vital to the effectiveness of behavioral health service delivery. As clinicians, we are urged to honor and respect the beliefs, languages, interpersonal styles, and behaviors of those we are serving. Why is it important? Well, it's important because it helps us to build rapport, trust, and safety. It provides a nurturing space between the individual, families, and the service providers. Data also shows us that there is an increase in cultural responsive or being culturally responsive. Lily, can we go back to the other screen? Did the screens change at all? I didn't see the screens. Okay, something's going on with my computer.
It changed. You're on what is cultural responsiveness.
Oh, okay. So that was the beginning of what I shared in the beginning. So can I get this? So how do I do the share screen back to when I can share it?
You wanted me to stop sharing?
Yes, please. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem.
So do I now, okay, so let me go back up. So one of the important things about society, they label people when they have the revolving door syndrome, and we don't appreciate that stigma or labels that are placed on people. When we return, we look at it as an opportunity to do better. Did we miss anything? And we reinforce their choice to come back, because the worst thing you can do to a person is to ask them, hey, how come you stay back again? They are already dealing with the guilt and shame that have brought them to their current circumstances. It goes along with Dr. Lisa talked about in the video regarding stigma around women and substance use. The greatest skill to use when people return to treatment is to honor their choice to be with you no matter what happened that brought them to you. So now let's talk about self-identity and purpose. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, people are motivated by 5 basic needs, and as each need is satisfied, you climb up to the next level. When women are admitted to our therapeutic living and clean and sober settings, their basic needs are met, which is levels 1 and 2. Oh, what happened to my...
Oh, sorry, just you wanted me to share your slide about Maslow's hierarchy, right?
Do you want me to come? Do you want me to come hold your thing for you so you can get the slide at the same time? I'm gonna come over to your side.
So maybe Lily, Noe, you want to be the person on the slide thing, on the slide, and I just tell you when to go the next one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I did the off-screen one already, so we stay now at Maslow's.
Maslow's, yep.
Oh yeah, so the new technology, I tell you. Whew. So when the basic needs are being met, then we go up to the 3rd level, which is the 3rd and 4th with psychological needs. And then at that level, we provide licensed clinicians, staff, and make referrals to outside community service providers to address their psychological needs. One of the self-fulfillment needs come when they successfully complete and graduate the program. Their purpose is to hopefully live a healthy, substance-free lifestyle. Okay, next slide, please. In working with Native Hawaiians, we must understand the historical trauma took their self-identity, their language, traditions, and belief systems, their land, and the worst act of overthrowing their values of self-governance. And my first slide showed this, that was only done to Native Hawaiians, okay? You got the Jews that happened to, indigenous nations. So when we talk about culture, there's many different ethnic cultures out there that were historically traumatized. Next slide, please. In the Hawaiian perspective, there is the macro level, also known as the Hawaiian worldview. And the micro level is known as the individual view. We can change slide. In the macro level, the Native Hawaiian belief is having lokahi, between God, mankind, and the earth. Each side of the triangle represents a reciprocal relationship between those two entities. So for example, we hear about the Malama Aina. Well, that concept at the base of the triangle speaks to the belief that if we, as a people, take care of the land, ocean, and sky, the earth will in turn take care of us. When we nurture our connection with Akua, Amakua, and ancestors, Native Hawaiians believe that they will be provided for, guided by, and become innately in tune with their spirituality. The right side between Akua and Aina is what we refer to as the natural order of balance, our ecosystem. Akua is the creator of all things, tangible, intangible, and all things have life, including the pohaku. Sometimes it's hard to understand why Kilauea is still erupting or having multiple storms and forest fires. We define them as disasters because the outcomes can sometimes be very disastrous. We can also come to understand that the earth is healing and regenerating itself, as well as sending us a message of our kuleana as humans to Malama Aina. Native Hawaiians believe that everything speaks. And as healers, we learn as much as we can about each culture to honor and understand the participants' beliefs without judgment and prejudice. Next slide, please. So when we want to integrate culture, we look at, we vala'au, we like for talk story and learn about the people and the person and the family and honoring their spiritual beliefs. We also bring Sister Sherry, who has been with us for about 8 years, and Pastor Shannon, who has served the women for about 4 years. These spiritual leaders were requested by the participants to connect to their spirituality. You know, the rainbow looks at the promise that he never going to flood the earth anymore, right? After a rain, and that's why we see a rainbow. One of the activities we do to connect the person with their environment is sense of place. We ask, where is your mauna? And what's so special about that place? The picture of Iao Valley serves two places for me today. It's my mauna and my vai. As a child, our ʻOhana spent a great deal of time at Iao before the cultural renovations. The halikonia and the plants were as high as the 3 pavilions that were built on 6 feet stilts, and it was a great place to play hide and go seek. We would gather o'opu and opai in the streams, bananas, guavas, and purple plums on the riverbed. My kai is Camp 1. That's where I love to go camping, and I also kapukai. My ua is up in Haiku, where the rain is constant and cleansing. Oh, I just love it when it just comes down upon you. And not in a thunder or lightning though, but just hard rain, just to feel the cleansing. And then my makani is from the slopes of Poli Poli. And right now, Mauna means mountain, Vai is fresh water, Kai is salt water, Ua is rain, and Makani is the wind. And now I want to ask anyone if they would like to share if there's a sense of place for them that they connect to, and why is it so important to you? Does anybody want to share? Or put them in the chat?
Yeah, you can put your answers in the chat, or if you feel like you want to speak verbally, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you.
Illinois, I cannot see the chat, so how can I, is anybody putting anything in there that I could?
I don't see anything yet.
Okay.
At the bottom of your screen, you should be able to click on the little
oh, chat.
Yeah, bubble and chat. Oh yes, we did have one.
Oh, good. It's your medicine. Thank you, Robin. And then we're going to talk about the la'au lapa'au and how it brings medicine, yeah? Even fresh water can bring medicine. And with that, then I'm going to move on to Pilina Mahina. You can see the different moon phases. Yeah, kind of blurry, but we do Pilina Mahina, and it's all about developing a relationship with the moon. And part of that program is it's a commitment to complete a daily journal to learn about Mahina and how the Ike relates to self, how the knowledge relates to ourself. And depending on the moon phase, an activity is done. So for example, during the La'au moons in the Mahina Poi Poi cycle, we gather plants and organic materials to make like a body scrub. And as each person stirs the bowl and add their ingredients, they also share a gratitude statement for the person to their right. And this is just a small piece of what we do in the Pilina Mahina class. And with E Ala E is chanted every morning to start the day with being grateful for life and for opportunities to make better choices. The picture on the bottom right is part of a video we did when we learned E Ala E. We went to Haleakala and performed the chant. The essence of the oli was felt in that room. It was amazing. Even the tourists appreciated that moment. And now when we talk about na kanaka, next slide, we talk about the moku auhau and our kuleana. So when I first learned about the genogram, I also used to find family patterns for substance use, domestic violence, and blended families. Then I learned that the moku auhau was used by chiefs who secured orders to oli the genealogies in order to know who belonged to the ahupua'a, and then for them to rise in ranking. Today, my purpose of the moku au hau is not only to find out who we are and where we come from, but it also provides an opportunity to find the gifts in the family. You know, asking questions about what are your strengths, your interests, and it shifts the participants' focus on positive patterns and success of the ʻOhana. If I look into my ʻOhana, they can play ukulele. My mom was an entertainer. My grandma, I think she started doing the ukulele only when she was like 60, but she could strum it. My mom could do the same thing, but we no hoʻi. The thing was, skip my generation. I could not play, but my daughter know how. So that's kind of some of the things that we do as far as sharing our successes within the ʻOhana. So yeah, next slide, please. So on the left, the women found out that we were planning to testify for funding from the Maui County Council. So the participants asked if they could do this on Malama's behalf, and we were really like truly blessed when they asked. This was a great opportunity to empower them and for them to advocate for themselves to get the support they needed. So we talk about kuleana. This was an amazing moment for all of us. And on the right, we established a partnership with Konohiki Kimokea Kapuhulehua to restore Ku'i'e fish pond since 2012. We were so proud to be the first women's group to do so. And we do this at least twice a year, depending on the water and depending on the weather. And now we have pandemic, but it's okay. We'll get there. We'll get back there again. Okay, next slide. So the goal of the therapeutic relationship is to support the participant and her family to work toward the restoration of the harmony and balance. When working with a Native Hawaiian individual, it is also of key importance to assess where the individual is in terms of her connection with the Hawaiian worldview. So for example, if a client may have conflicting ideas about what it means to be Native Hawaiian, it can range from being strongly aligned with their Hawaiian culture to having just a limited awareness of Hawaiian cultural beliefs and practices. And that's where I was at one point. I did not know who I was as a Native Hawaiian. Wherever the person may be in their alignment with traditional Native Hawaiian values and beliefs and any other cultural values and beliefs, the emphasis is on the importance of remaining non-judgmental and functioning as a collaborator with our participants in goal formulation and intervention. On the micro level, the concept is about pono, finding balance within one's soul, body, and mind. Next slide, please. So to nurture the uhane, we again assess the participant's understanding of the soul and her relationship with her inner self. Activities such as chants and protocol helps us to connect to Akua and our inner self. The protocols and chants are used daily, like Oli Aloha. We use that when we welcome our visitors to our facilities. Oli Mahalo is done every night to be grateful for what was brought about in the day. We Oli Mahalo our supporters that come to visit us. And then we integrate with Western approaches, like I had mentioned earlier with Auntie Sherry and Pastor Shannon coming over to do some spiritual mentoring. They find NAAA meetings and then meditation. A little bit about meditation is when you go and gather, you don't just go, oh, okay, I like this fruit. What you have to do is, in the Hawaiian way, is you actually ask permission and you have to sit and meditate and wait. And like when we did one with the gathering of tea leaf, we go, we ask, and then it starts to dance. I mean, or one will just catch your eye. You should practice this. This is so fun. And then you'll see which ones would like come with you. And then that's the one that you do and you take. However, after getting the permission to take the plant, you also look around what the plant need to continue. So we clean up the area, we clean the tea leaf on the bottom if still get yellow leaves, things like that. So the protocols are very, very intentional and meditative. Next slide, please. So the activities we do to nurture our kino is through la'au lapa'au. The plates you see are fresh fruit and gluten-free banana bread. So we gather fruit and then we are thankful for that. And on that same day, we also made our own health shots. and tea with olena, mamaki, ginger, garlic, whatever we could gather. The beach you see is one of the places I take our women to kapukai, which means to cleanse and to release. We also have wellness and recovery, where we take the women walking for an hour twice a week. And so you can kind of see the difference between the Western and the Hawaiian, but a lot of them are very integrative. You know, like I didn't put up here dance therapy, where we had a person come and do dance worship. That's like hula, that's any kind of dance. You know, Tai Chi is also a different type of culture, but that was really good for the kino. Nicotine cessation, yoga, all of that exercise. Thank you. Next slide. So to nurture our mana'o, or our mind, one Western approach is cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT. The concept of CBT is change your negative thoughts, and then you can change your behaviors and negative outcomes. I took the CB map and integrated it with the Lokahi wheel. Next slide, please. With the wheel, the person is asked to not only identify the thoughts and feelings, and if you notice the wheel, mana'o is separated from the na'au for the thoughts and the emotions, but it's also to identify other life areas that may have been affected. The person is then asked to identify coping skills she can use to bring each domain as well as herself back to balance. So does someone want to try to do, or just give me a situation that we can kind of process on the wheel? This is fun, you know.
And you can share in the chat or raise your hand and I'll unmute you. I'm play the Jeopardy music now.
Lily, no, you like try give me one situation that at your agency you usually deal with.
Sure. Actually, I'll just give you one that I deal with.
Okay, whatever you like. We could try.
I guess maybe sometimes during high stress, just having kind of like emotional outbursts. So maybe like wanting to have like na'au in check.
Okay. So what situation will bring you to stress? Let's go a little bit backwards. Give me one situation that would bring you stress.
Maybe like overextending myself.
Yeah, we do that, right? As healers, we do everything. Sometimes we work harder than the client. Anyways, so in which domains does it affect you? Being overwhelmed or taking on too much? So let's start with the kino. Is there anything in your body that you feel stressed? Do you carry stress in your shoulders? You get headaches?
Yeah, headaches, jaw. Definitely my jaw. I have huge muscles in my jaw now.
Okay, did I put you to stress? Sorry. And then the emotions is what? What kind of feelings you having when you get stressed?
Maybe like short temper, or a feeling of like, I guess there's two extremes: short temper or just like wanting to just lay on the couch.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Does it also affect your spirit?
Yeah, I guess because you like you're saying, like we want to, as healers, like we want to always be there. We want to always have something to pour from the cup.
Okay.
Empty.
Nice. And then what about any thoughts? What auto thoughts do you have that come to your brain when you get overstressed and overwhelmed?
Maybe I sometimes have some thoughts of like wondering why I can't be better at balance.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then as far as ʻOhana or any kind of relationship at the job, your client, yourself, how does it affect? How do you, or does it not affect that piece?
Definitely kind of affects, I think, like my family relationships, because I have my brother. I live with my brother. So sometimes I'll take it out on him.
Oh,
I get a little snappy.
Like we all do. We get snappy at the closest ones, right?
Right.
And then, so now let's look at Kuleana. And if you noticed, I started from the body all the way down. And let's look at your Kuleana now. What's your responsibility in regards to feelings of being overwhelmed in the situation, actually?
My kuleana is, I mean, honestly, I feel like it's my kuleana to not be overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so to not be overwhelmed, what you gotta do?
Learn how to
Mm-hmm.
deal with those imbalances, or learn how to give myself space.
Yes. You know, sometimes like when we talk about coping skills, you know, doing some self-care because your body stay tightness and stuff like that. Emotions, what do you do to de-escalate your emotions? Pico pico breathing is perfect. I love it when you do that on opening, you know, and being accountable. So it's, hey, I need to learn to say no sometimes. You know, if I know I gotta do stuff, but there's some points where, you know, you just gotta take a break, take a breather, take care of yourself. And yeah, so those are the coping skills. So that's how this works. What do you think? Was it okay? Was it kind of crazy about the Lokahi will going
I,
through it?
I like it a lot. I think it's really
Mhm.
great to think about all the different areas that it impacts, and then
Mhm.
what are those specific, because definitely when I think about that issue, I don't think about all those different areas and how it impacts all those areas. I only think kind of in one direction, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, and then like for me, when I stay overwhelmed, what happened? I work crazy hours. You know, Dr. Ponichtera knows that. You know that I can work crazy hours if I'm very driven, and then I gotta cook dinner, gotta do laundry. My ʻOhana gets stepped on the side. Like to be honest with you, this presentation, the last 4 days was put everybody on the side. You guys gotta feed you guys self. No. So that's how we use the Lokahi wheel. Thank you so much, you know, for doing this. Okay, so now let's go to the next screen. So it's all about DBT, dialectical behavior therapy and culture. So the need to address this. Oh, what happened? DBT and culture. So yeah, it's something like CBT. It's evidence-based, and it was first created to assist those with mental health issues. The four elements is mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotional regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. So what do we do for culture? We look at pico pico breathing, what Lily Noyd helped us with this morning. It was so good because I was so stressed out because I never do this kind of stuff long time. And oh my gosh, 20 years working on doing a PowerPoint presentation. We do also use ho'oponopono when there's like interpersonal conflict with the family or with self. Kahina bo, it's all about these values in Hawaiian and in English. So what we do, kahina bo every week. We look at you kahina bo, you pick up out, say you picked out ho'omana vanui, which is patience. So over the next week, you got to see how you would apply or was unable to apply that value during your daily life. And then you will report back to the group each week on how you did, and then you get feedback, and then that day you pick another value to do. The Lokahi wheel, you've seen the Lokahi wheel being done and demonstrated. Thank you to Lily Noy. And then the Olis, you know, Ehomai, calling on wisdom from above. You know, that's amazing when you do those things. And then Hemu Oya, when we cleanse and release, that helps us to be mindful of where we're at and what we need to do in order to decrease the distress, in order to self-regulate. Okay, next slide. And along the way, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Put them in the chat, and then Lily Noy can tell me. Uh, so trauma-informed care, the need to address trauma is increasingly viewed as an important component of the effective behavioral health service delivery because of the lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and mental, physical, social, emotional, and spiritual well-being. It is almost universal experience of people with mental health and substance use disorders. The six principal approaches is about safety, trustworthiness, peer support, collaboration, empowerment, and all these cultural and gender issues. What we've done in integrating the culture piece is we create the pu'uhonua. Like we talked about earlier, the basic needs. When people come to Malama, their food, water, warmth, and rest is there. They're secure and safe because they are in a structured environment, 24/7. They have staff on shift. If you got to get up early in the middle of the night because you can't sleep, there's a staff person there to support you. The cultural values and attitudes from the bowl. Actually, the facility has every week an essay on values. So if it was lokahi, there's a 3-page essay. How did you learn about lokahi in your childhood? How can you use lokahi in your recovery? And in the community, how will that value help you once you leave Malama? Malama Aina, that concept, what we do once in a while or every quarter is we go into the neighborhood and pick up rubbish to help our neighborhood. Yeah. And then the upihi, what I've done is it's a concept on diamond in a rough. I talk about resiliency. So I gather upihi shells and then I talk about the story of the upihi, being in the waves and pounding and the upihi is stuck to the rock, growing limu, all of that. That's all the trauma, yeah, that we experience. But with the sandpaper, we can start to rub it off. We can start to look at the beauty that's underneath. What was so remarkable for me was when a client said, Auntie, I was trying to get this black spot. That's flaws. I wanted to take them up, but then I would realize the flaw is part of who I am. If I didn't go through substance use, if I didn't go through certain situations, I would not be here and I would not know better. So some epiphanies like that, the whole ailonas that they get through these little simple exercises are amazing. And then I did Who's in My Canoe? Next slide. So one of the fundamental secrets to making an outrigger canoe travel well is precision of the crew's timing and rhythm. All paddles entering and exiting the water at the same time, all paddlers pulling in unison, and all using the same technique. Time, that is what drives the canoe forward, and the power surge must be synchronized. Through time and experience in the canoe as a crew, working on the fundamentals are paramount. For those of you who paddled or are still paddling, you know the role of each crew member. So I took the concept of the va'a and related it to peer support and sober network. So if you look, there's like seat 1, 2 through 6. And the person is asked to, okay, who would be sitting in your canoe right now? Where would you place them? And are you sure that these are the people that will give and be a strong sober support for you? Do you know that they know that they're self-motivated and they will tell you, Tita, you stay off track a little bit. You better get back on track. Those are your help the sober support. And then of course, the individual is the steerer. They make sure where they're going, where they want to go, but they also got to ensure that the whole crew is safe for themselves and for each other. Because if you get one unhealthy one inside there, if the seat 3, you get somebody that no can paddle deep and hard and all of that, you hardly gonna get anywhere because that's your power seats. That's your powerful paddlers. They're the ones that apply maximum leverage to get the journey forward, to move that canoe forward. And then of course, the 7th canoe member is the canoe itself, which represents the vehicle of recovery. And then on this slide at the bottom that I couldn't put up there was a note, and the note said that your child is never a crew member, is never supposed to be there to help you go through your recovery. You have to find other people in your life, whether they be family or community supporters, but never your child. And then after the exercise, we created canoes. So no, you stop share. I show my canoe that we do. So this is the canoe. We would use 2 fronds from the coconut, and then we made canoes, all of us, whoever was in class that day. And then if you pull each side, the thing paddle. That was fun. Okay, Pausia. You can go back to screen. Next slide. Thank you, Illinois. You're so awesome.
That canoe was really
Yeah, that was, I get whole more about that too. So in summary, the indigenous traditions and practices have existed for centuries. So just by exploring our native cultures of every culture, we can find knowledge and skills we can use today to help individuals and ourselves find self-identity and reach self-efficacy. Like Auntie Mary Kavenapukui said, "ʻOhe pau ka ike I ka hālau hoʻokahi." Not all knowledge is taught in one school. And that's why I feel so blessed to have a supervisor like Dr. Ponichtera and Malama to expand what I love and to allow me to pursue my culture, because I never knew it as a child. So the Pilina Mahina, so I was blessed down at the bottom to go on the Hokule'a that day when they came into Maui in Honolulu Bay. So what's next? Next slide, please. So now there's the Aloha Response training this Friday from Ponoshib. Dr. Ponichtera and I have been in 2 cohorts, and it's from Auntie Pilahi Paki, who taught about Aloha, and it is a state law today. But the response in how we react to a client when when they can be in crisis. It's not about point finger attitude and bad body language. It's about, hold on, let's see where they're coming from. So I'm so glad that all our staff will be doing that. The cultural liaison position will be more full-time so that I can enhance more cultural responsiveness throughout our tri-agency, which is Aloha House Residential, Maui Youth and Family Service, and Maui Behavior Health Resources. You know, we want to also acquire and to establish our own sense of place. We are so blessed to have Ka'ehu Bay from the Ka'ehu organization, where we can go and do our cultural classes. And so, but we would like to have that, because what the vision is for Dr. Ponichtera and I is that we can expand the sense of place to a pu'uhonua for all community, where the agencies can come and utilize this space for high and at-risk individuals, or even just to come, just to get recentered back to zero or to groundedness. And then of course, continuing Pilina Mahina education with Kayla Shaw. Dr. Ponichtera, is there anything I missed on the what's next?
she had to jump off for her other meeting.
Oh, she had to jump off. Okay. Well, mahalo nui loa for everybody, for you guys, taking the time to be with us today. The next slide will show all the cited references that I used to do this PowerPoint presentation. Are there any questions, comments about today? I'll go open chat now that I know how.
Please feel free to put any questions in the chat or the Q&A section. I have a question, I guess, about the in regards to barriers of self-disclosure. So like no, Lisa was kind of mentioning, how it's really important to connect and as it goes and bringing ourselves into our spaces, yet that's kind of in contradiction to some of the policies, I guess, for some certifications, like there being barriers to self-disclosure. How do you navigate, or is it just a policy of your organization? Or?
Well, there is that policy as far as self-closure, but it's all about what's your intention. Is your intention to take away from what's happening to in a discussion that's going on at that moment, or do you really need to share? Is the question I ask myself. Why is it important? Why am I intent? And this is all going up in my head, is why do I feel the need and what is my intention and motivation to do so. And so, and then today, you know, I don't even have a Facebook. I don't have any social media because I keep my family life separate. But that's up to the clinician at that moment and at that time. When we build a closeness and we building trust and safety, there are sometimes we can disclose, but it's really don't disclose really deep stuff. If they ask the question, are you in recovery? I may answer yes or no, or why is, I would ask the question to the client or the participant, why would you feel that that's important? And a lot of them come back, well, you know, if you're not in recovery, then you don't understand where I come in from because you didn't experience that. That's a huge thing that always comes about. But for me, it's like, well, I'm here to be a healer for you, a supporter for you. That's important. Let's talk on the side. And so that's how I would handle a self-disclosure or not. It all depends on, like, I go with the flow too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I think I get caught up in it sometimes because I just graduated with my MSW. So they put it into you in school, you know, don't disclose and stuff, but you get out into the real world and you realize that it's much more, you know, navigatable.
Yes. You have the gray areas. And then, you know, like on Maui, kind of hard not to self-disclose. They probably know who your family already because we're so small island. So everybody know everybody, you know, so people talk, and what you may disclose or not, some they may already know. They're just fishing and wanting to see if you'll share sometimes.
We did have a question come in. So our agency struggles with culture being billable. I'm very interested in how these programs are billable.
Right now, it's not. It's part, kind of, sort of. So the therapeutic living program, part of getting funding for that, for the facility in itself, we have to provide 22 hours of basic life skills classes. So part of the 22, I've got 2 hours of culture class. I got 1 hour of seeking safety, trauma-informed care, and then DBT, you know, an hour each. So that's how they've been, I believe, doing it, is through a facility billing where we got to provide these basic life skills classes. So it's not like every time you get paid the 2 hours. No, you don't. And that's why it's really hard when you continue to provide these services and we can't build the insurance. But it's good stuff. I mean, that's the whole thing. And the whole point is about doing what's best for the client and the individuals that we serve. And I believe that money can come from the sky. If we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, you know, like how the worldview as Kanaka Maole, if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing for our community, then Akua and Amakua are going to provide. And it has been so far, the last 12 years I've been at Malama.
Awesome. Mahalo. Yeah, that makes me think about something Jared Euro was saying in one of our other ʻImi Keola Maʻamau sessions about how ADAD has this, I forget the name of it already, but I should look into it. It's a specific way that culture treatment is billed.
And as soon as we find out, we're going to start. No, I don't know.
That's what our next step needs to be. That's what our next step needs to be, like providing a training specifically on what that is. That's a good.
I saw he had a session prior to ours, but I did not know what it was all about. And of course, I wasn't able to attend that. And that was not part of what he shared, or was it?
It was, he mentioned it briefly, and I forget the name of it, but it was something specifically that ADAD had tried to develop so that there could be a plan of cultural treatment. But, you know,
nice.
It was an interesting concept, but I don't know specifically the interworkings of how to actually utilize that for treatment organizations. So maybe that's something we can ask him to kind of elaborate on, because that would be really helpful, you know, to be able to have our cultural pieces be their own treatment, you know. And
right.
have it to be, you know, a part of a Western treatment, but you know. Does anyone else have any further questions? Because I've got several, and I want to give space for others to ask. And while you're all thinking, we put both Auntie Kupono's and Lisa's email in the chat as well. Okay, I'm going to ask one of my other questions then. It's about the peer support. So how have you been able to integrate peer support into, like, do you hire peer recovery specialists?
No, we're not there yet. And money is tight, as you know. And so what we do is we have them figure out who are they closest to on the outside. A lot of them is family. Part of it is going to, they go to church, they go to NAAA meetings, but not go to, sorry, they do telehealth, and then they find their support through that way. And then we kind of interview, when I do my family strengthening piece, we kind of interview the person or persons that they want to ask as a sober support, and then find that, yeah, okay, that person's cool. Because like I said, we all kind of know each other in the community. So that's how we build peer support. We have the only one thing we do is senior client. So the person that's been here for a while, that's shown some progress and has gone through the 4 Malama levels, we ask them if they are comfortable with being senior client. And through that, we actually help to nurture leadership skills. And then they practice that here, and then they move on, but not necessarily a paid peer support position. And then know that some of our graduates are actually employees of the program. So that kind of speaks to that, I think.
Yeah.
Because they understand, yeah, the other side of living at Malama.
Yeah.
And what they went through. And so they can kind of help those that are here currently with that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think therein lies the beauty of peer support, you know?
Yeah. I really, like life coaching even. I was trying to search for someone who does life coaching in the community and see if that's being paid through insurance or how they can do that. Because after they leave, you know, you want to make sure that they solidify their support network and that they continue with that. Because unfortunately, when they lose that, that's when their life, you know, goes back to the old style.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Okay. Does anyone else? I'm gonna give space again. Let's see. Was there any other questions that came in? I'm gonna give you folks a few more minutes to think about questions, and I'm gonna share some things that are coming next for Papa, since we have that time right now. And a huge mahalo to Auntie Kupono and to Lisa for sharing this. I took lots of notes, and I'm going to be following up with you folks because there's a lot of really interesting things that you offer. I think could be incredibly beneficial as we look forward to, you know, building opportunities for everyone doing this work.
Oh, mahalo for your ask. That was, I truly appreciate that.
So we'll open up the floor one more time to anyone who has questions. I'll also remind you to fill out the evaluation, which I will also post in the chat. You will be redirected to the evaluation after you sign off of this, but in the event you might be joining like from your phone, sometimes it doesn't auto direct you. So I'll just go ahead and place that in there. That's the evaluation and our attendance verification. And does anyone have any questions to share or any mana'o to share? Okay, I can ask one more question then. I never have a shortage of questions because, you know, I really deeply passionate about this subject, to be honest. And so it was, you were sharing a bit about AA and NA, and I'm curious about how that integrates with culture, or how, if you ever see like a fighting, but like a, you know, like it doesn't connect with culture, or like they have to be separate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if I can link that as a culture, but if you look at it generally, it's all about support and community. And as an individual, to nurture the mind, spirit, and body, parts of that is being taken out to a different source. Because we know that all EK no come from just one source. Doesn't come only from culture. It comes from maybe other things that we have in the community. And so with NANA meeting, there's a culture in itself. It's actually a spiritual program because they believe in God. So that's probably the avenue you could look into. It's just about like-minded people coming together to talk about their recovery and needing support so that, because recovery is a lifetime. So when they build these strong support system, then they can know that hopefully they don't go back and relapse. But if that made any sense, it's about peer support. And that's how I think I would link it, peer support and spirituality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Mahalo. Okay, mahalo nui. I don't see any more questions coming in. So I think with that, then we'll just go ahead and close today's session. And I just want to mahalo you again for sharing all of the incredible work that you folks are doing out there. I hope to be able to come visit you guys sometime when it's not.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Just let us know so that we can, look out at what you want to do and learn, and then we'll get that ready for you as well.
Mahalo. Yeah, I think there's so much that we can all learn from each other doing this work, and how we can improve.
And I just want to say one last thing is that our people, the clients we serve, they have the answers for their life. So when we can ask them, instead of coming from the place of hierarchy where I teacher, you the haumana, no, we are all same level. We all can learn from each other, and each client has their own strengths in order to move and progress. You just help them see that piece. I have these things, and it's up to you to see something that would help you. So that's what I also wanted to say. They are also the experts of their life.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Mahalo. Well, mahalo to you and mahalo to everyone who joined us here today. And we hope to see you at one of our next sessions. We hope to see everyone at all of our sessions. Please join.
I'll see you on Thursday.
Yes,
I'm looking forward to Tangaro's last one. Yeah,
yes.
He's amazing.
Yes, he is definitely hoping to continue to build upon what we've started there too, and see who wants to even move beyond that. So mahalo to everyone.
I'm going to move beyond that. So me and you got to stay connected.
Okay, for sure, for sure. Awesome. Okay, well, everyone, please enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you on Thursday.
Okay, ahuyo.
Ahuyo.